Hello everyone, the first thing that you're going to want to do to start aiming like a pro is to change your mouse settings. And what I mean by that is you're going to want to get a mouse that has DPI settings on it. And when you press in the DPI button on the bottom of a mouse, it's going to change the color setting of the DPI setting that you're currently using. And it depends on the mouse that you're using, but typically you're going to have DPI settings of 400, 800, 1200, and 1600. And then the higher the DPI setting, the faster your cursor is going to move around your screen with you barely having to move your mouse. Right now I'm barely even moving my mouse and the cursor is flying across the screen because I'm on the 1600 DPI setting. But if I go to the 400 DPI setting, you can see I'm barely moving my mouse and the cursor is also barely moving. So because of this, what I would recommend is that you change your DPI setting to 400, because now when you're aiming down your sights with your weapon in an FPS game, or maybe you're playing a third-person shooter game, regardless, when you're aiming and you have really low DPI settings on your mouse, that's going to make it so much easier to control where you're aiming your weapon. And then if you're following a target, it's going to make it so much easier to follow that target. And then if you have to control recoil on any of your weapons, it'll make it so much easier to pull down or pull to one side or pull to a different side. Everything about controlling your weapon gets easier, and thus your aim gets better. And the mouse that I'm using in order to do this is the BenQ Zowie EC1 Ergonomic gaming mouse, and I've been using this for the past 5 months. And before I even upgraded to the BenQ Zowie EC1 gaming mouse, I was using the BenQ Zowie FK1 Plus, and I used that mouse for about 4 years, and I'll link both of these in the description. And then once you change your DPI setting to 400, that's going to make it so you're going to have to move your mouse around much more. And because you're going to have to move your mouse around much more, and you're going to have to move your mouse across greater distances, you're going to need a larger gaming mouse pad. And then the version of the gaming mouse pad that I'm using, they don't have on Amazon anymore because it's pretty old, but it's still a BenQ Zowie gaming mouse pad, and they have newer versions. So if you were going to get one of these, I'll put a link in the description. I would recommend getting the GSR gaming mouse pad, and that's going to be the same size as the one that I have, and the dimensions of this are 18.5 inches by 15.3 inches, and that should be able to compensate for your mouse DPI being at a lower setting. And then the final thing that I'd recommend doing is changing your in-game ADS settings. And what I mean by that is your aim down sights sensitivity settings. In most FPS or TPS games that you play, you're going to have a sensitivity setting for when you're just looking around without aiming down your sights, and then you're going to have a sensitivity setting for when you're actually aiming down your sights. For the most part, you should be fine with your default setting for just looking around, because that'll allow you to flip around really fast if there's someone behind you, or to look around corners really fast. But when you're aiming down your sights, that's the important area where, once again, you're going to want to lower those settings. What I normally do is I only go down another maybe 10 to 20% of my in-game ADS settings, but once you get used to it, it's going to start to feel like it's just the norm. And once it's like the norm, then you can start to play with even lower mouse settings to see just how low you can go and still be able to be effective with those mouse settings. You can go online and type in a pro's name and then look for their DPI settings and then their in-game sensitivity settings for whatever game they're playing. And most of the time, you should be able to find somewhere on Google what their exact settings are. So if you want to try mimic them, that's a pretty good way to do it. And that's all there is to it. So if you have any questions at all, please post them in the comment section. Subscribe for more. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.